Yeah, that's nice, huh? That's nice. Hello everyone. Today we're going to talk about the Z-Man Elite EVO chatterbait, some of the problems with it, and how to fix them. So if you look online, there's a bunch of reviews talking about poor snaps and the ability of the eye to open and the blade to wiggle itself out, and then you reel back in just the blade and the snap. So there's two problems. So if you look closely, the top of the wire coming out of the jig, the chatterbait head itself, is not completely encased in lead. It's not completely encased in material. Let me get a tool, I'll show you. The top right there. And one of my viewers on a previous video suggested that instead of using braid and super glue, you could use one of those UV glues, UV activated glues or epoxy. But I'm going to do it the same way I've always done it, and that's with a length of braid. But basically you need some mechanism to seal up that gap and make sure that that blade can never wiggle its way off of the wire coming out of the nose. And the way I do it is I tie, well, first I get 50 or 65 pound braid. You don't need a lot, maybe 2 feet, just to make it easier to tie. And I'm tying a palomar knot to nothing. You know, I've only got 2 feet of line. So it's just a standard palomar knot, a little bit of an overhand knot. You pass the bait through the loop. I'm going to wet it off camera, and then I'm going to pull that knot tight right on the eye, and then make sure it's cinched down really well, and then I'm going to trim off the excess snugly, snugger than you would tying a knot on the end of your fishing line. I don't want a lot of tag end here. And then I'm going to work the knot down towards that gap with my fingernail. Just shove it into place there. Make sure the skirt material is out of the way. And at this stage, I'm looking at the skirt. I think it's maybe a little bit long. I want that skirt to puff out when I'm working it and popping it free of weeds. I want the skirt to breathe. I don't want it to interfere with the trailer either. So I'm just going to take about a 1/2 inch off. So it comes a little bit beyond the hook bend. And it doesn't have to be perfect. You don't have to do this part. If you want to leave it long, leave it long. Or you want to cut it in an irregular way, you know, go for it. Whatever you want. I'm just setting it up the way I want. And it's a convenient time to do it now. And I also have a 3/8 ounce Elite EVO in a bluegill color. It's a different concept that I haven't seen before in terms of the color pattern. It's got a copper blade, which I kind of like. I like that in stained water. And the skirt look more like a bluegill than a lot of other bluegill skirts. Anyway, I thought I'd give it a try. But it's going to be the same thing. I'm going to tie a palomar knot to nothing because it's not connected to my line here, my fishing line, my main line. And that palomar knot is going to serve as a blocker for the blade, so the blade can't slide off the wire. Same thing, I'm going to wet it off camera. Cinch it up nice and tight. Any double line knot will work. Any kind of braid you have online, it doesn't have to, it could just be old scrap braid from filling up a reel. But I like thicker braid if I have it on hand. So this is 50 pound Berkley X5. But any kind of braid, any brand, Any color, doesn't matter. Same thing, I'm going to trim those tag ends tight. And I'm going to work that knot down in to fill the gap. Something like that. And then I'm going to trim this skirt too, just because I have it out. I'm in my basement right now, where I work on a lot of my fishing stuff when I'm not out on the boat fishing. Just wanted to extend a little bit beyond the bend of the hook, not too much. And I want that skirt to flare out nicely when I'm popping it and working it through grass. That looks good to me. The second step is, if you wanted to, you can replace the snap with a Decoy Egg Snap. Now the snap they have on it, to me it looks pretty similar to a Decoy Egg Snap, but I don't think it is. I think it's a different brand, and I don't know exactly what brand it is. It looks a little bit like a Molix Hyper Snap. I'm just comparing it to the Decoy Egg Snap. It doesn't look the same, and I think on the jackhammer it's the Decoy Egg Snap, and I think they tried to save a little bit of money switching to a different brand of snap. So I'm not going to switch it right now. I'm going to just glue that knot, that palomar knot, to nothing. I'm going to glue it down to the top of the bait and seal that gap off. And for now, I'm just going to monitor that snap. I'll keep checking it after I catch fish with these baits. And if I notice that that snap is starting to open up on me, I'll replace it. But I'm not going to replace it right now. You know, even with the jackhammer, which is my favorite chatterbait, you can fish it right out of the box. It's one of the only ones I fish straight out of the box. I'm just dabbing away at the excess super glue here. But the jackhammer comes perfect right out of the box, or right out of the package. You don't have to modify it. But even that, after a while, you can wear out the snap that comes with the jackhammer, and I've had to replace them before. I haven't had to replace many, but I replaced 2 or 3. And it's just, you know, eventually they wear out. I'm just going to set these aside to dry. I'm being careful not to get the skirt material into the glue. Alright, it's been a few hours, and I've got my Elite EVO chatterbait out on the boat, and we're going to test it on some fish. First thing I'm going to do, I got a new, it's new to me anyway, it's a chatter spike by Z-Man. It's made out of the Elastec material. I'm just trying to work that bait onto the hook so it's perfectly straight. Take your time doing this. Sometimes with the Z-Man stuff, they can fight you a little bit trying to get them onto the keeper and the lead weed guard there. But they're super durable, and you can just push them and pull them much harder than you can regular plastisol baits until you get them into the right spot that you want to fish them with. You know, and I'm pretty happy with that. That's straight. My skirt's coming just before the bend in that bait. So I think it should work pretty well. Just checking my knots dry on the Elite EVO eye there. We've got fairly sunny skies. Really partly sunny. We've got an east wind, which is pretty consistent for all the spring and into early summer. East wind is not my favorite, but at least it's blowing pretty well, and there's a little bit of southeast wind mixed in. So we are going to make this go. I'm just checking. I've got the chatterbait in the water next to the boat. I'm just watching how it swims. I want to make sure that skirt isn't glued to the trailer. And it looks good to me. I know it's a little bit hard to see on camera. I'm just popping it a little bit next to the boat and making sure that everything is working the way I expect it to. That blade's starting up. The skirt looks good. The trailer looks good. And there's my first cast. Doesn't take too long until I find my first fish. Just doing a little roll cast into some shoreline bushes there. Giving it a pop every once in a while. And there we go. Now he's not a giant. But that's my first fish on the Chatterbait Elite EVO. After I modified it a little bit. And after every fish, I'm going to just take a quick peek at that snap. Make sure the eye of the bait isn't coming loose or anything like that. He's not going to win any prizes, but it's a start. A few casts later, I got another one coming in the boat. I lost the first part of that clip. I don't know what happened there. Camera turned off. But I got another one coming in. They seem to like it. I would say the startup speed of the blade is just a slight bit slower than the jackhammer. It's a little thicker blade. They have it coated with some kind of gel coating. But it starts up pretty fast. I mean, it's 99% there. I didn't have any trouble with it. It did seem maybe like it collected weeds a little bit more than the jackhammer on the head of the bait. But that could be my imagination. It's 99% there and about 50% of the cost if you get it on sale. The jackhammers are great on sale too. Got another little bass. That's how you want them to eat it too. Way down the throat. That means they like the color, they like the bait, they like the presentation. I'm fishing the windy side of the pond now. I had one bump it, and I kind of bumped him back, and he came back for it. These are the conditions that I like fishing a chatterbait in. Got plenty of wind, even a little more wind. Sometimes they eat a little better. I find that when the crawdad is bouncing around in the waves and the wind, and I feel like I'm uncomfortable standing, I better sit down. That's usually when the chatterbait bite is best. You know, it's just before white caps, and we don't have that much wind right now. But those are the kind of conditions I feel like they eat it really well, is when there's so much wind I don't feel comfortable standing. And I got another one. They seem to like it all right. And with my little fix, I haven't lost the blade or the snap yet. After every fish, I'm just going to look at that snap and make sure it's not working itself free or opening up at all. Here I did have to sit down. The wind picked up a little bit. Water's still pretty cold. I don't want to go for a swim. This is a better fish, and you can tell because it's pulling the boat. Anytime they're pulling the boat, that's a good sign. And that's a different species. That's a smallmouth. So apparently smallmouth like the Elite EVO too. Hooked in the top of the nose there. Kind of jacked up my trailer, but that's alright. I'll just untwist it. Yeah, nice smallie. Nice and tall. That one might be spawned out by now. Alright, I had a good afternoon out here bouncing around in the wind, fishing a Elite EVO chatterbait. The modifications that I made seem to work pretty well. It's hard to tell in just one afternoon of fishing. I'll give it some more time. But I'm pretty confident this is going to work for me because this is the same way that I fixed the Weedless Project Z. Now that bait, there's an actual open gap on the nose. It's not even attempted to be sealed. So you really need to crush the wire down and also add the braided stopper with some super glue there. I also like the Z-Man Chatter Spike. It doesn't have as much action as, say, a spunk shad, or a Zako even. But it's much more durable. I had a few pickerel go after the chatterbait, grab onto the tail. If they did that with a Zako, the Zako would be toast. I mean, completely gone. Even the spunk shad, they might rip off the end piece there. But I fished the same trailer all day, and I bet I could fish it a few days. So anyway, thank you all for watching. I'll list all the gear in the video description, just like all my other videos. And I'll catch you on the next one. See ya!